Alrighty, so we've ran you through the numbers. Now let's talk a little bit about some strategies for academic success. But first, let's review what not to do. Remember, habits impact success. So, do not text in class. Ladies and gentlemen, it is very important for you to put your phone away and pay attention to your professor. As well, there are a lot of other distractions. Keep the Collegian down. Keep the Coloradoan down. Keep the New York Times down. Do not get into Facebook or Snapchat or anything else like that. When you're in class, it is very important and very valuable for you to be paying attention to your professor. They're saying many things that will probably appear in the test and that you will not be able to read in textbooks. As well, please make sure that you're not being a distraction to other students by trying to talk with them. And, of course, when you go to class, be present. Do not sleep during your class. Make sure you're getting plenty of sleep so that you can stay awake during class.
Thanks, Elliot. Let's take a look at some of those do's then, right? These are things that will help you be a successful student at CSU. So do. Check your CSU email account for important updates and information. Do see your advisor at least once every semester to ensure you're on track for graduation. Do use resources on campus, most of which are paid for with your student fees. This is the Tilt building, and you'll see Tilt has a ton of fantastic resources for students. You can see a full list of resources by opening the resources file on your RAMCT homepage for this peak program. For each class, you must attend every class. No, seriously, we mean every class. You never know what information the professor may give in class that will not be available later. Information covered in class might not even be on RAMCT, and that's if your professor uses RAMCT. So please attend class. 2, we want you to take thorough notes. Review notes after class as soon as possible to help retain the information. Review notes after class. Read the syllabi and refer to the course syllabus at the beginning of the semester and keep for reference throughout the semester. This is an agreement contract between you and your professor. Buy your supplies and books early, and then visit your professor and or TA during office hours and ask about any material you don't understand. It may seem intimidating, but many students report their professors and instructors are easier to approach than they thought initially. Make it a priority to meet with your professor for each of your courses. Then you have a starting point. All right. Ready, Elliot?
I'm ready. Let's talk through 7 steps to improve your academic practices. Step number 1, identify your strengths and weaknesses and go to class. So, the critical first step is to admit that, yeah, I've been having problems and I need to put these problems into perspective. You may have failed a class or two, but you are not a failure. College is hard and it's a full-time job, and it takes time to learn how to become a college student. A GPA below 2.0 means, yeah, I fell down, but I can jump back up and work on what I do as a student and begin improving my GPA. College is a different learning environment, so you can develop new and different skills to be successful again. And yes, you can become successful again. Know that you can succeed. Identify strengths to grow stronger semester by semester. Also, you need to identify why you're on academic probation. The Peak Self-Assessment on the main Peak page in RAMCT will help you look at a list of practices that likely affected your previous semester or semesters. Remember to print this out and bring it into your advising meeting to discuss your specific situation. Ask your academic advisor for help. If you had last semester to do over, what changes would you make? Your advisor can help you consider what went wrong and can help direct you to many different campus resources.
Awesome. Thanks, Elliot. Let's now take a look at step 2 in setting goals. It's smart for every student to identify and create SMART goals. This will be a little bit of a longer slide, but stay with me. I think there's some great information here about goals, and I think that goals are important because you can't aim your efforts if you don't have goals to aim for, right? So Let's look here. Our focus here is to make sure that you set goals and write them down. A list of goals floating around in your head is just wishful thinking. If you expect to change your academic performance, then you need to know what your goal is so that you can plan to get there. Again, we suggest SMART goals. So let's take a look at this. S is for specific. Your goals should be specific, and you want to focus your efforts on a set of specific points. Don't just say, I'm going to buckle down or I'm going to do better. Instead, set specific goals like, I plan to study 30 minutes more every day. It's a more specific, more focused task that you can tend to. Second, any goal should be measurable. This means there is a clear measuring stick, an evaluation tool you can use to determine what success looks like. It can also help you understand how and when you get there. If you focus on studying for 30 minutes, keep a spreadsheet or mark your calendar to track the time you put in. Whatever your goal, it needs to be clear and you need to know how to measure your progress on that task. A stands for attainable. Saying, I'm going to get straight A's for the next 3 semesters is clear, but it's also overwhelming and not likely attainable. It's almost like saying, I'm going to climb Mount Everest this weekend. You might have an idea of what you want to do and not be able to do it. What you ask yourself to do has to be something you can reasonably produce. If you don't know what's reasonable, then you should work with a campus resource like your advisor to agree on what is a reasonable goal. Next is R, which here is for relevant. Your goal should be relevant. This means that your goal ties into and answers the question of, what is the end result I'm looking for? For example, a company wouldn't ask a person that works in computer support to look at sales figures, unless it relates to some aspect of computers. The company is more likely to get someone involved in sales to look at sales figures and report back. Somehow, you should be able to answer the question, how does this relate to the desired outcomes and your efforts for this semester? Finally, your goal should be time-based or time-bound. This means that you have a kind of clock or calendar on what needs to be done so you know when your goal is due. Not knowing your direction at the beginning of the semester means you'll likely have little focus at the beginning of the semester, which will likely dig a hole too deep to get out of even with your best efforts in the last weeks of the semester. Consider making weekly goals so you know what you have to get done for the week and can measure your efforts for that week. Remember to write down your goals. Have a list and post it somewhere you can see so that you are focused on these goals. Here's one person who put up goals right by the mirror so they can see those goals each day.
And on we go into creating and following a schedule. Step 3. So what we're going to talk about in this slide is creating a schedule. And to do that, we're going to use this blank grid. And we're going to be writing it down, of course, and we're going to be, like we said in the SMART goals, we're going to be specific. So, as we go through in filling this out, I want to remind you that you can print a schedule grid from the RAMCT Peak homepage as well. It's important to recognize your body needs rest, so get enough sleep, and we're not going to throw that in there, but we are going to talk about a whole bunch of other pieces. You should also plan on eating because you need food to fuel your efforts. You also need to remember to attend class, so start by filling in all of your class times. Still lots and lots of open space, right? Use your time wisely so that you can study between class breaks. For many students, staying in work mode is helpful, so study between classes. Note that by doing so, you can still get in a few hours of studying and be done by the evening. Also, plan for a few hours of studying over the weekend to help you keep connected with the material in between your 2-day break. Doing so will give you more contact time with material and means that you don't need to study as long during the weeknights. And don't forget, if you need help, there are many tutoring options on campus. Ask your advisor for more information. Even after you plan all this out, look at all the free time you still have. Make good use of it so that you are doing good work and keep refreshed and rested. Again, don't forget, it is very important to put this on paper.
All right, let's look at step 4 in getting the most out of the class. Sit in the front. This here is a picture of a classroom from the back, and I can barely see the board. So sitting up front can keep you more engaged and make you more connected with the professor and what's going on in the class. Again, very poor view here of the board from this back of the class photo. Go to every class, and we mean every class. But what if I'm sick? Well, could you make it to your best friend's wedding in this condition? If so, then you're well enough to go to class. Go to every class. You paid for it. Arrive early and stay until the end. Arrive early so you can get a seat closer to the front. Find seats in your classes where you feel you can see well, engage with class, and take something away from the lecture. Give your instructor your full attention. Turn off your cell phone. But I might have to text somebody. You'll live without it for a few hours. Avoid distractions. If you know your laptop, phone, or tablet will tempt you to open other applications, then take notes by hand. Don't sit with friends if it tempts you to chat or lose focus. If you find yourself surrounded by unfocused people and all those people aren't doing well in the class, then you owe it to yourself to move somewhere else in the class.
Fantastic advice. And as we move along, we want to talk just a little bit more about taking those nice, strong notes. That is step 5. Even if your instructor posts notes on RamCT, or even if your friends take way better notes than you do, you need to write down what you hear in every lecture. Remember the importance of getting ideas down in paper. Writing helps you learn. It actually turns your brain on. And if you record lectures or take notes on your laptop, you should still be writing, even if only for key points and or reminders. As you write notes, try to focus on the materials at hand. Check out the Tilt website for free academic skills, workshops, and tutoring, including good note-taking.
All right. We are trucking along here now, moving on to step 6 in being an active learner. Here we're going to talk about the SQR3 method, which is just an acronym for the couple things we'll talk about down below. So let's talk about the S, which is survey, and you want to break down the chapters into sections. This helps you get a sense of how material is organized in the book and what will be covered in that chapter. Let's look at question after that, right? What you want to do is give yourself a quick self-quiz. Recall what you already know about the topic. Spend a few minutes thinking about what you already know about this and what you've heard in lecture. Read at your normal speed. Use your highlighter sparingly during this read. This first read is about active listening, so you give your full attention to the reading. You're reading to comprehend as much as you can. Then you want to recite. Reciting is a way to check how much you grasped from the reading. Orally ask yourself questions about what you've just read, or summarize in your own words what you've read. Take notes from the text, writing the information in your own words. Mark in your text the areas of importance. Use the method of recitation that best suits your particular learning style. Remember, the more senses you use, the more likely you are to remember what you read. And remember to set time for studying. If you highlight, note that this is just highlighting, and you'll still need to make time for reading and studying. And then we have review as the last R here. Review means you revisit the material in a number of ways. Go back through the text, reread your notes, identify key points, answer questions you had during the first read, create flashcards, out loud test yourself on the material, and or work with a friend to quiz one another. Approaching a text with smaller steps like these makes that text more doable.
All right, folks, last but not least, step number 7, preparing for exams. So, we're going to have 2 slides on this real quick. First and foremost, many classes are comprehensive, so start the semester with a strong first test, even if you have the option of dropping a grade. You need to start strong. Don't wait until the last minute. You'll likely be crying. The guy in the lower right-hand corner has decided to read all of his chapters one day before. This will not help at all. The crying will begin. In college, you don't want to worry the week before the test. Do yourself a favor and be studying 5 to 6 days each week so that you are consistently seeing and remembering the information. See it as practice or training for a sport. These are things that need to be done regularly, if not daily, if you want to be at peak performance. The takeaway here is do not count on cramming at the last minute or pulling an all-nighter to save you. These habits are bad for your health and bad for your GPA. So, what do you think you should do? Let me tell you. I recommend that you start preparing early. Start studying for your next exam the day after you finish one. Review your notes weekly. About a week after your exam, organize all of your lecture and text notes and begin your careful review. Pull together work you have done with your text, your notes, information from lecture, and info that you've researched. Also, think about what your ideas are in regards to the concepts. One way to really engage with material is to think of ways you can creatively interact with the material.